Good evening and welcome to Hot Topics from the Soul. I'm your host, Dr. Valerie Parker Hagan, and I'm delighted to be with you once again. I have my co host.
Well, good evening and great day that it is in the midst of so many things that are happening. Dr. J.R. Thicklin is here with you, and we're just excited to come back to you today with what we believe is a compelling show, considering the times that we're in. And we want to get right to it. You know, today is St. Patrick's Day, and neither one of us are wearing green, as you can see. And so there will be no pinching that's going along. But nevertheless, I say to you, let's get it going.
Well, we celebrate those of you who are Irish and we recognize you. And sorry for not wearing the green, but we believe in camaraderie, sticking together, and uplifting one another, which gets us to our topics. War of Agendas, battle tested. Let me tell you something, America is at war. And there are going to be things coming down the pipe that are going to try us in our relationships. It's going to try us in our finances. It's going to try us in our families. And it's up to us to make sure that we don't allow outside influences to derail us from the agendas at hand.
You know, you hit it on the head, and when we start talking about battle tested, it just really relates to so many areas of life. You know, not just this physical war that is happening right now, but the wars that we have in life. When we start talking about being battle tested, it is not just merely surviving a conflict, right? It's not
Mm.
just merely surviving a conflict, but battle tested means that we go beyond just surviving, but we move into that place of where we make decisions, right? We should learn from the things that we go through. And life will always present a test for us.
Oh,
The
yes,
thing
it
about
will.
yeah, and the thing about it, do we learn from what we are tested with? You've heard me say many times, it's not enough just to go through. We all will go through things, but to go through and not grow through, it's going
Mm.
to always be costly to us.
Absolutely, Dr. J. And let me tell you something. I remember back in 2013 or 14 when the economy had crashed and we were all trying to find our footing, talking about being tried in the fire. People were losing their homes. The mortgage industry was shipwrecked. It was an onslaught on the American family, but we survived it.
Absolutely.
We survived it. It made us stronger. So we're at battle. We're at war right now, and we're going to have to fight for our footing once again.
You know, you just said something that was important. You talk about the time we're in and how we survive it. And that's what happens when we go through tough times. To be battle tested means that we come out refined. We are refined through the battles that we are faced with. We are refined, we are proven, we are transformed in the midst of everything that's happened. So that means that even when we're facing things in our day-to-day lives, we are being tested, and we're being tested on every front. What is it that we pull out of it? What is it that we graduate with? What is it that refines us? What is developed? What is it that contributes to our transformation? And that means so much more. And because within every war, there are battles, right? Within every war, there are battles. And what people have to understand that battles prepare us. Battles makes us ready. And so when we're dealing with battles in life, we've got to be able to extract from that lesson, from that battle, so that we're able to be able to engage properly in the larger war.
Mm. Yeah, it is war. And you know, one of the first things that the enemy tries to do is to distract us and cause
Yes,
us to make bad decisions as it relates to our finances. And you know, if you can cripple a family financially, I mean, you basically have them because that's the first thing, you know, we're both, you know, advocates for domestic violence. And that's one of the main issues when we're dealing with domestic violence is it comes with finances and control, the manipulation. So we have to be able to maneuver
hmm
this war that we have going on in the soulish realm.
And that's exactly right. And so when we start dealing with these battles that we're dealing with during that time, once again, those battles will test us. They will refine us. They will transform us. But after all of that, there's a decision that is made, and we have to choose when it's all over with. Inside a relationship, we have to choose love. We have to choose love over anything else. We have to choose love
Absolutely.
and and purpose over even the things that we're dealing with. So often last week we talked about in the war of agendas, we talked about that crippling enemy that is called self love. Yes, when I say self love, not in the positive sense, but when we become self absorbed, when it's
Mm,
all about us and it's not about anyone else, when we find ourselves that our agendas are more important to us than people around us. And therefore, when our agendas become more important to us than people, we don't consider the people we encounter, we eventually isolate ourselves. We isolate ourselves. Nobody wants to be around us. Nobody wants to take part in things with us. Why? Because it has been proven that we're about self, me, myself, and I. And so, even in dealing with the war of agendas, we have to understand if we're going to coexist with anyone, if we're going to coexist in a relationship, it cannot be all about me, myself, and I. It must be about communication, must be appreciation, it must be recognition of those that are around us.
absolutely, Dr. J. And, we really have to focus on relationships, those friendships that we have around
Yeah.
us, to make sure that we're in alignment because, misery loves company. So you don't want to be the one where you're attached to people that they're having a pity party and you become a part of that party. You have to be able to rise above what we see for what we believe the promise is ahead of us. Because if we
Yes.
don't, we'll succumb to the war that's all around us. Yes, it's frightening. Yes, it's distracting. Yes, it's hurtful. And there are going to be attacks. There are going to be attacks in the
Yes.
family amongst one another. And we want you to stay focused, stay laser sharp in your decisions about what you make for your family, for yourself, so that regardless of what's going down, we won't have mental breakdowns all over the place.
And that's so important. That focus that you're talking about is critical because once again, we're going to be battle tested. And inside of those battles that we're being tested in, so many of those battles begin here in our
Mm,
mind. They're in our mind. And the resistance that we put up oftentimes to release or to let go of self-interest is always staring us in the face. So when we talk about going through battle and being battle tested, we have to submit to being refined. We have to submit to allowing the process to happen within us. And what I mean by that, we're going to be battle tested. So when we talk about being battle tested, in this case here, even spiritually, we're battle tested. We're battle tested in what we're doing because the battle is oftentimes within. So when we win the battle within, we have to make up in our mind that we're not going to let our self-interest win.
absolutely. There's storms brewing all over the world. Here in South Florida, it's cold. It's under 70 degrees in South Florida. There is definitely a change going on in this world. And regardless of how we feel, we are going to be part of that change. So, what part of the change do you want to be? You want to be take the low road or the high road? So, we have to make sure we pay attention to how we maneuver in these days that are coming.
And that is true. And these days are going to test us. How do we persevere through it all? How do we take that high road is what you're insinuating here. There's a scripture in Romans 5:34 that talks about perseverance and suffering produces perseverance and character and all of those things that come from that. And so we have to make choices inside of this battle. When we wrestle with pride, we have to battle that we may choose humility. When pride is trying to take over us, God help me to choose humility. It's important because the fact when we allow the pride to take over us, it totally distorts our thinking. It makes things unclear. We begin to focus in on what's in it for me. WIIFM, that's some people's favorite radio station. What's in it for me, right? But we have to understand when we are in these battles, because these battles are coming. They're coming left and right. We've been when we're tempted by power, we have to what? We have to choose servanthood. When power seems to be something that we cannot let go, we're going to have to be able to say, God, I'm willing to serve. I'm willing to serve because these are battles that I've got to win in my own self. And that's what's important as we give away, as we do things, as we choose, what are we going to do in the midst of the anxiety? You can tell you feel anxiety around us. You can feel anxiety in this nation. You can feel it. The uneasiness that's happened, the uncertainty that has happened, all of those things, the winds that are blowing around us. This is the time that you and I must make sure that we're anchored. How do we stay anchored? We have to stay anchored inside of our convictions, inside of what we believe. We have to stay anchored because if not, we will lose this battle, and we don't want to lose the battles.
We definitely don't want to lose the battle, but this is a time also for us to check those that are in our life space. Dr. J, when there's a storm brewing, and I don't know about you, but in my neighborhood, I don't care what color you are. When there's a
Mhm.
storm brewing, we all rally together. We put up those shutters when we need to pick them up. If somebody is
Absolutely.
lacking, we go ahead. I don't know about anybody else's house, but my house, I check on my neighbors. I see what's going on with them and what their needs are. And, this is
Absolutely.
how we stay strong as a people, as a community, and I'm asking those of you that live next to seniors, check on them, see if they need something because their monies have been taken and cut short. I know one of my relatives was getting $25 a month in the, what do you call that, SNAP thing, I believe.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it went down to $12 a month, $12 a month to eat.
Now,
So we must make
who
sure
can live off of $12 a month?
$12. We have to make sure that we look at our seniors and also those single parents, rather be male or female, because sometimes, the men are, with the challenge of raising children because the mother passed away or she left. And we have to also support them, the men that are going through something, because I don't know fully, Dr. J, but I know a man being the head of a household, his burden is to make sure he stays strong in the eyes of those around him. And then here it is with the women that are single parents. They're going to have to fight, swing their way. I know I had to fight my way to success. I couldn't rely on anybody but me and God. And thank God I had him because he was more than enough. So we have to make sure in this war of agendas, we fight and look forward to what those agendas are, what they look like for us, and make preparations. When there's a storm, when there's a war going on, there's preparation that has to be made. What preparations are you making? Are you preparing for food? Do you have the right clothing? Do you have gasoline? There's
Mhm.
things you prepare for a hurricane. What are you preparing for if a war hits here? And there's a storm in your home, there's jobs being lost by the droves. What preparations are you making if you lose your job and there is no SNAP programs? They're cutting agriculture where you can't go and get food shares like you used to. So, a lot of things that our community relied on is no more. They cut out the pre K. I know my daughter for two kids is paying 700 a week for two children in daycare. Outrageous. We have
those
to prepare.
those are battles because it inflicts a burden on people that they may not have been prepared for because of things that once were, when we recognize the fact that people needed help and they needed assistance. And now this is a battle. And that battle strains us, that battle tests us, that battle puts us to our wits end at time. And you were saying earlier, with men, a man that takes pride in being that provider, that man that takes pride in understanding his role, it can be very challenging when things are tight. It can be very challenging when things are uncertain. And so between trying to balance that and still hold your ground, you got to work together inside of relationships. You got to work together. This isn't a time to pull out. This isn't a time to abandon. This isn't a time to walk away, because anything worth having is worth fighting for. And so what we have to understand, this is not the time to retreat. This is the time to pull together, because love isn't love when it only lasts when it's convenient.
Say it again, Dr. J.
Love isn't love if it only lasts when it's convenient. There are some things in our life that is not going to be convenient, and we're going to have to be able to we're going to have to be able to rise above those things when it's not convenient. In other words, we have to think about this. We don't wait till the fire break out before we prepare. We don't wait till all the things dry up before we think about those things, as you were saying, being ready. I believe it was Robert F. Kennedy that actually said the best time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. You don't wait till it starts raining and then say, oh, let me go up and repair the roof. And so the thing about it now, how do we repair those roofs? How do we learn to discipline ourselves in this season here, that we're able to stand in the seasons to come?
Yeah, you talk seasons. Everything has a season upon this earth. Just like there's winter, spring, summer, and fall, there are always seasons in our life. And we are going to have hard seasons. We're going to have seasons of joy. We're going to have seasons of joyfulness, and with those around us. There are going to be seasons. And that's one thing we have to realize is it is only for a moment sometimes. When you go through situations that seem to be afflicting us, as far as disappointments, pain, financial, relationship, it's only for a season. And we can't stop in the midst of a season saying, I'm just going to put on my coat and ball up. No, we have to keep working, putting in the work, regardless of what season we are in. There's always a season to plant. There's always a season to sow.
Absolutely.
And we can't wait till a feasting season comes.
One of the things about it, we see all the parables about the sower that went out to sow. We see the parables and we understand the necessity of nurturing, cultivating the ground. We see the importance of not only preparation, but we also understand the purpose. We understand the importance of process. It's the process that we go through that oftentimes becomes what refine us. Notice that refine, not define. It's the process in which we go through. See, everyone would love to have a perfect life where there's no worries, there's no challenges, there's no pulling, there's no stress. Everyone would love to have that, but very few is ever granted that. And if they are, it's only for a short period of time, or they're in seasonal pockets. We experience it. So when those things are not happening, that means there's a season of preparation that's happening. When you look at the fact inside a relationship, the enemy loves to attack relationships because people have a difference of opinion. People have a different perspective about things. And so what happened, the enemy will walk in right in the midst of that and cause you to lose sight on what your real goals are and your real purpose is and what your covenant is. So when you've been misunderstood, you got to learn to grow the disciplined bones in your body. In other words, if I've been misunderstood, I have to choose communication over withdrawal. Just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean that it's time for me to bail or me to withdraw, me not to talk to you for 2 days, me give you the silent treatment for 3 days. No, that's not the way to do so. Why? Because in that sense there, that's the time that you're being tested. Will you choose to communicate versus to withdraw? Those are the things that we'll look at for a relationship. You've been hurt. So yes, you hear so many people, I've been hurt. But in the time of being hurt, the real battle is that you have to choose healing over retaliation. Do I
Absolutely.
choose to be healed, or am I going to retaliate? And sometimes people, they will retaliate against someone who's brand new. They will take they will take that hurt, that anger, they will take that experience, and they then punish someone else that's not even part of it. But at the end of the day, remember we said the battle always starts within. So you
Mm.
got to look at yourself and say, what am I in a battle with? What am I battling right now? Am I battling unresolved issues? Am I battling hurt? Am I battling pain? Am I battling disappointments? Am I battling brokenness? And if I
Mm.
am, I have to choose a better way. And that way, it's not going to always be easy. It's going to be a challenge. The question is, are you up to the challenge? Do you want to meet the challenge?
Well, I know about being battle tested. You know, it was a year ago that I had eye surgery, and they told me in 6 weeks everything would be okay and I'll be able to visually see. Well, when I went back after 6 weeks, they was like, "Oh, it'll be another month." Another
Mm,
month came, nothing. It took a whole year for me to be able to visually see in
wow.
my left eye, the process. And I'm clear, and I'm still not clearly seeing because of the fact that the damage that was done in the eye is not, because it was so damaged, I don't see perfectly clear in one eye, but it was a process. Sometimes
Yeah.
when you're going through situations in your life, you just can't stop. You just
Yeah.
can't stop and say, woe is me. Look what I'm going through. Look at the cards I was dealt. You know, there's going to be situations that are coming up in the near future in individuals' lives where adversity will come, but you are being battle tested. You are being tried in the fire. But I promise you, if you keep moving forward and stay on assignment, because see, there's
Yeah.
always a place called there. Everybody has an
Yeah.
assigned place called there. But
Yeah.
if you don't focus and keep moving and don't be distracted to the left or the right or what somebody's saying, what somebody's doing, if you keep moving forward, you will arrive at your there place. And the manifestation of the prize will be greater, far greater than the battle that you have to fight.
That's a powerful thing that you just said. That is so important. And those of you that are watching, please feel free to put your question, your comments, reach out to us and everything. And there's so much that was said there because once again, we start off talking about being battle tested. It's not just merely surviving the war, but it's really the result. It is being able to go through things, knowing that I'm being refined, I'm being transformed. The reality is the fact that what is the signs that we know that we have won the battle? The sign is really our maturity. What happens now? We mature. The things that we're tested in should mature us. So what do we know? Immature people. See, immaturity doesn't have to do with being chronologically young as far as
Yes.
age, but immature people are generally those people that fight to protect their position. They fight to protect their position, but they won't invest into fighting to protect their relationship. See, battle tested people fight to protect the relationship. They're not trying to protect a title or position there. They mature people, battle tested people, they know when to speak. They know when to be silent. They learned how to stand firm and yet know how to yield in love. They understand these things because they've been tested. And so being tested, being proven is so critically important to our growth. Let me share this with you. Right now, we're in the midst of a real war that's happening out there. And you keep hearing stuff like, we got the greatest army in the world. We got this, and we keep hearing that it almost sounds like it's bragging, right? We must always remember that biggest doesn't mean best. We have to understand just because you have the louder noise doesn't mean that you're the one that's being heard. And so we have to be prepared because what maturity does, you'll never hear someone mature bragging about what they got.
Absolutely.
They don't. because they understand, first of all, you know when not to say things because you don't want to what? Show your hand. So what you understand is this: I draw lessons from the things that I've gone through. Sometimes the loudest person, oftentimes, is the one that is clueless.
Mm.
They think if they make a lot of loud noise, it makes people think that they're right. And that's not what makes you right. Do you not know you can be defeated by someone who's not larger than you, someone who may not even be brighter intellectually than you, but someone who's patient and observant enough to scope out the landscape and then make decisions how to strategize, how to maneuver inside of it. And so that's the thing that's important. Some people will fight to be right, be right. And something is not about being
Which
right.
is dangerous because you're not always right. So that
Exactly.
is a dangerous thing to fight. You got bullies out in the street fighting because they think they're right.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So the thing that we know, and we definitely want to make sure everybody understand that being battle tested, what you've learned is how to manage your agenda without destroying connection. How do I manage my agenda without destroying connection? And that's the thing about it. When you're mature and you begin to mature, you learn not to have an explosion. You learn how to not blow everything and mess up everything around you simply because you didn't have your way. So the growth part of being battle tested is that I'm willing to learn from what I've gone through. And I'm just glad that those that have joined us and joined us live, some of you there.
Yes, thank
Hi
you
to
so
Derek
much
Scott out there.
in.
Hi to my cousin Jeanette, Angela P. Thicklin, watching from Birmingham, Alabama, and many others that share this podcast. Continue to subscribe to it, Hot Topic from the Soul. Continue to share this with other individuals there, because at the end of the day, we are bringing you things and bringing you programming that you can attribute and that you can utilize in your own life. Listen,
Absolutely.
even if you don't think you need it now, keep living. You may need it soon.
Absolutely. And Dr. J, you do coaching as well as I do. Give them information on how they can get your services, because you also speak at, conferences and you do trainings. So
Yes.
share a little bit about who you are and what it is you do for those that are just tuning in.
Well, for those who are just tuning in, you can reach me in a number of ways inside of a mini platform. Not only training, but both faith-based training, as well as, if you would, secular training inside of relationship, adversity, domestic violence, mental health, intersectionality of it, fatherhood training, and just a myriad of things. And you can reach me. Our website is jrthicklin.com. You can go there and you have a way that you can reach me through that. Or you could always find me there on Facebook up under J.R. Thicklin, Dr. J.R. Thicklin. Either of those pages, you'll find me.
Absolutely. And also, those of you that are tuning in and following, you can go to the Soul of a Woman Foundation. My foundation is for domestic violence. You can go for the soulofawoman.com and find that. But you will find information regarding the foundation. I also do coaching and speaking at events as well. But, this information that we give is to empower you and inspire you to be the greatest version of yourself. We have so many different levels of who we are because of whose we are. And we want you to be the best version. Next week, we want you to share and subscribe to Hot Topics from the Soul. Good night.
Hot topics from the soul, reaching all minds, turning knowledge into gold. Hot topics from the soul. Hot topics from the soul. Yeah.